Yeah, today we would like to present the cinematic and video game architecture MArch program here at the Bartlett. And just to say what we will be doing, we will first introduce the program, then we will introduce the program staff, just me and Luke. Then we will give more details about the module structure. We will talk a little bit about careers, and then give some more information about the application details, followed by some questions and answers. If you have any questions, we will be happy to answer them. So
yeah, so we'll start by talking a bit about the program itself. So why have we developed this program that integrates cinematic and video game design with architecture? It started this year. We've got a new cohort of students, but really, I think, can we get the next slide?
I don't seem to be able to move them.
One of the primary reasons why we've developed this program is that architecture has a long history of acting as an underlying structuring device for both film and video games. So whether it's a film like Metropolis, you can see here, or like an anime like Evangelion, the role of architecture is often a very key one in kind of supporting the building of the world that's being created. Go to the next. And I think one of the other things that's kind of key to this is the fact that architecture itself and an architectural design is also being changed by new technologies emerging, and a lot of these technologies are being developed in the film and the games industry. So, for example, we can look at on the top here things such as virtual production techniques used by companies like Disney and Lucasfilm, where they're using virtual environments created in like Unreal Game Engine and combining them with live action footage in order to sort of redefine the way that things can be filmed and the way that architectural spaces can be kind of presented and explored. And the same piece of software, Unreal Engine, is also used in something like the game below, Final Fantasy VII, where it gives you this really powerful ability to visualize a world from the kind of smallest scale up to the largest scale. And this is really redefining the way that we think of and design architecture. Good. The next slide. And so the cinematic and video game architecture program is the first program of its kind in the UK. And although this is a new program, we just started this year, this is building upon expertise that's already been developed over many years at the Bartlett. And so what we want the program to do is to prepare you as students for emerging future fields of architectural design. So you'll develop skills that, as well as kind of taking you in new directions as architecture students, if you're architecture students, which you might not be, but also to develop skills that are applicable to the film and game industries and have applicability for VR and AR environments. So what we're really interested in doing is asking you to work in a very cross-disciplinary way and to use technology in a kind of experimental and an interesting way that creates new forms of work that we might not even know yet. And I think the other thing just to say is that the course, we're very keen on this course for you to critically situate your work in relation to these new developments in time-based digital technologies, and also and I suppose question the way that these technologies are shaping our culture, identity, and politics. So we're looking for students who want to be kind of thought leaders in this type of area. So on the cinematic and video game architecture masters, you will be supported by a world-leading team of tutors and visiting industry figures, and you'll learn innovative design techniques using film, animation, and game engine software. And this will allow you to become architectural storytellers and world builders who will engage with the key issues facing our world. And what we'd like you to do is to develop your own creative practice through design projects and theoretical writing, which culminates in the production of a final project that demonstrates your unique research methods through a film, a game, an interactive environment, or an animation or something similar to that. And as part of the program, we also have an optional field trip where we carry out contextual research at a site somewhere around the world and connect with other institutions and industry practitioners. So that's also another learning device that we have on the program.
So talking a little bit about us, I'm a professor of architecture and spatial culture here at the Bartlett School of Architecture. I coordinate MArch Unit 24 since 2013, where I promote a highly innovative research-based teaching methodology that uses digital film and immersive environments to rethink architectural design through time. My research employs architectural drawing, model making, and digital film as investigatory tools to analyze ideas and work not only in architecture, but also in visual representation, the politics of vision, art, cinema, and more recently, actually, medieval studies. My work has been exhibited internationally. My solo show on medieval author Christine de Pizan, entitled City of Ladies, was hosted at Domo Bal Gallery in 2020. And I'm also the author of the monograph Marcel Duchamp and the Architecture of Desire. Finally, in my previous role, before taking the role of director of this program, as director of communications here at the Bartlett, I was part of the team that developed our state-of-the-art virtual Bartlett shows website, together with Hello Monday, a website designer company.
Sorry, my lights just switched off. That's helpful. Let me just go switch that on quickly. Not see anything otherwise. Bit comedy today. Yeah, so hi everyone. My name's Luke Pearson and I'm an associate professor here at the Bartlett. Prior to starting this course, I was the director of our undergraduate architecture program for 4 years. And I've been teaching for about 8 years in a studio called Videogame Urbanism, which was on a different program, moved to teach on this program. But what I'm really interested in is the relationship between video game design and architectural design. And that's something that we've been doing for a number of years now. And so aside from my work in UCL, I'm the co-founder of UMP, which is a design research studio with Sandra Yukana, where we work between architecture and video games. And we exhibit game-based works, amongst other things. And we kind of consult with industry people and various other types of projects, of which you can see some here. I recently published at the end of last year a book called Videogame Atlas: Mapping Interactive Worlds. That was also written with Sandra. And in this book, we analysed 12 commercial games through about 488 different drawings that we made and a series of essays. And so this is something that we're really interested in, making these kind of deep connections between architectural history and theory and the virtual worlds that we all love and play and engage with today. And so I've spoken about this subject at places like eFlux and Dezeen, as well as on gaming sites that you might know, like Polygon and Edge magazine. And so yeah, but this kind of, I've also done work consulting for people such as the Serpentine Galleries on their future art ecosystems, art and metaverse. And I've edited another couple of books that are looking at the kind of relationship between historic avant-garde architectural design and contemporary developments in design. So this kind of relationship between games and architecture is my particular interest in relation to this course and why I'm one of the co-directors.
Great. So although the program is still very new, welcoming the second cohort of students in September 2024, it builds upon a long history of cinematic and video game driven pedagogy at the Bartlett. More specifically, it brings together the very successful work that we have been producing individually with students in recent years. Since we don't have any graduating projects from the program yet, we will share some of this previous work to give you an idea of the types of themes and techniques that the cinematic and video game architecture program promotes. Here's the work of Enoch Liang, who has built an allegory of an alternative Hong Kong in Blender using deft character animation and alongside composite architectural environments. Oops. So
yeah, this was a project called, oh, it's not playing.
sorry.
This was a project called DeFi City, which was a video game built in Unreal Engine. And this was a critique of the volatile cryptocurrency markets and the rampant marketization of metaverse technologies. And so this group of students proposed a financial district for the metaverse, where they took the urban form of the skyscraper and tied it directly to the market forces of cryptocurrency to make a kind of weird financial district that would kind of oscillate depending on the boom and bust, the very rapid boom and bust cycles of the crypto market.
James White merged digital animation with real footage in his immersive 360 film, which was a critique of Google's invasion of the privacy of the home.
Fulfillment City is a multiplayer game built on the Unity game engine that examines the future of urbanism through the logics of Amazon's non-human architecture of fulfillment centers.
Sonia used animation and procedural modeling to rethink the concept of time and designed architecture as a depository of knowledge carved in stone in Helsinki. And Camille proposed an arboreal dance hall embodying the spirit of the forest through motion capture, projection, and immersive technology.
Culture Arcade was a multiplayer game using both player-created architectural elements and procedural generation systems to propose a possible future cultural center for the metaverse.
Combining physical models here with interactive projection, Rose created a hybrid table video game which asks whether the city can be played rather than planned.
Kintsugi City explored the traditions of Japanese landscape painting and the art of broken pottery repair to make a city of fragments that players assembled into famous views of Tokyo.
Paola designed a groundbreaking VR environment that incorporates the tactility to reimagine our intimacy with the home.
And Oddworld was a multiplayer game where players could embody and warp and change every single architectural element in the world. And this is another project called Museum of Folksonomy. This was one made during the pandemic when the students were working remotely. And so this was looking at how museums were taking themselves and their collections online, and players could make their own museum based off the hashtag categorization of different artworks.
Uday developed a beautiful anime technique to propose a high-rise museum of architecture, merging politics and heritage in Delhi. And since all our work is time-based, we have developed an innovative type of video portfolio to analyze and explain the structure of our films and video games. Here is a fragment of such a portfolio, a spatio-temporal graphic by Vitka Agarwal, whose architectural essay film on hybridity focused on the syncretism of British and Indian cultures and spatially explored the experience of being rooted in many places at once.
So what we'll ask you to use portfolios to look behind the surface of your work. So to reveal the systems and the techniques that shape your design proposals in order to critically position your projects and how they use time-based and interactive media in their realization.
Beyond film, we are fascinated by and continue to explore majestic drawings like this and these. But it's also important to note that these drawings are created using screenshots, captures, and assets from animations and games that are there. That there is also power in grafting beautiful static images to capture a specific moment using the architectural elements in your time-based and interactive projects. So next, we wanted to talk a little bit about where the studio and the program is based, which is at UCL East, UCL's new campus at Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, the biggest expansion in the university's history. Along with the BBC, Sadler's Wells, the V&A, and UAL, the London College of Fashion, UCL East is a founding partner of East Bank, a brand new destination for London, with world-class culture and education in its heart. We are located on the first floor at Marshgate, one of the brand new buildings at UCL East, which features 8 floors of high-tech cross-disciplinary research space. The program has a brand new dedicated studio space with designated areas for presentation and private study, as well as specialist computer lab. Access to a wide range, we have also access to a wide range spatial computing and audiovisual equipment, as well as access to other specialist media suites and the UCL East Cinema. So now we will talk a little bit about the module structure.
Yeah, so this cinematic and video game architecture MArch is a 1 calendar year master's program. So it runs from September to September. And the program's been carefully designed to provide you with the knowledge and the skills to produce accomplished and critical architecture projects in time-based and interactive media. So as teachers, we're well aware that all of you in this room will probably come from different backgrounds and maybe have different prior qualifications. And so the program's been structured to offer a comprehensive suite of critical and technical modules to allow you to succeed, whatever your prior experience of working with animation, film, or games. So this is a diagram that shows the distribution of modules across the year. So the pink are the design modules, the blue are the history and theory modules, and the green are the skills modules. And so as you can see, the design modules are the core of the program. It begins with an introductory module and scales up to an advanced piece of work, which is submitted at the end of the year. And this runs throughout the entire year. Alongside this, the history and theory skills stream and skills stream, will also introduce you to foundational knowledge and skills required in both critical theory and software and techniques before allowing you to develop your own unique individual critical position. So, yeah, you think you skipped forward one?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so the first design module that you'll take is Introduction to Cinematic and Video Game Architecture, which is what our students this year are currently working on. And so this is a preparatory module that introduces you to the design of architectural projects through film and game engine software. And what we've been working on with the students and what you would do is a series of shorter tasks, which are designed to familiarize you with making a film, making a game, making an immersive environment. And these exercises are done as a way of kind of bringing all of you together into the culture of the course and to develop a design project that starts to test different techniques and also allows you to explore and build your own intellectual position for the subsequent design projects. So the second design module, Advanced Cinematic and Video Game Architecture 1. So this design module involves the development of a research agenda through making an architectural prototype. So you will produce a portfolio and a kind of digital artifact, which could be a film, a game, an immersive installation or something similar. And by the end of this module, you will have a kind of working prototype that will be used as something to help guide you into the final project. So in this module, you're expected to become a bit more independent with the relationship you have between the skills, the theory, and how those weave into your design work. And then the final module, Advanced Cinematic and Video Game Architecture 2. This is the longest design module. Yeah. And this will involve the research, production, and presentation of an ambitious architectural design project realized through time-based or interactive media. And this will be developed in close conversation with an assigned research supervisor. So you'll have at least one tutor, maybe two tutors that you see regularly, who will be helping you through conversations and guidance to develop this project. So the form of this final project is quite flexible and will be decided and derived by you, and it will demonstrate the culmination of your design research throughout the whole year through a final proposal and accompanying design portfolio.
So the design work produced in the program is the result of research-based teaching supported by in-depth theoretical underpinning and skills tuition. So the next modules to describe are the more history and theory modules, which the first one is critical media architecture module, which involves a series of lectures and seminars on the relationship between architecture, film, and video games, including related interactive and immersive time-based media delivered by theorists and experts in the field. Students are introduced to literature from different related disciplines such as architecture, media, film, and game studies, discovering how recent advancements in digital technology contribute to the reshaping and expansion of architectural theory and practice, culminating in the production of a short essay to start with. In the second module, working individually with a tutor, you will develop a dissertation on the history and theory or the practice of cinematic and video game architecture. The theme of this report is developed through tutorials and seminars and involves original research, as well as references to literature from media studies, film theory, game studies, philosophy, and the psychology of perception, and architectural history and theory. It is expected that the report will be closely connected and help inform the development of the main design project. We want them to work in parallel, or present new knowledge gained through the practical work.
So alongside that, we have the skills modules. So we have two skills modules, cinematic and video game skills 1 and 2. So in the first skills module, you'll undertake a series of masterclasses and workshops. We're developing skills in software for film, animation, game design, virtual reality. And this is kind of the way we conceived of this is a sort of a bit of a split between some of the foundational knowledge you might need in software such as Unreal Engine, Blender, Houdini, and skills you might need such as practical filming guidelines, how to do lighting, how to do AR, VR, and things like that. So it's really a kind of broad suite of different techniques that you'll learn, and you work quite closely with the tutors as well as undertaking these types of workshops. And then the module, at the end of the module, you'll submit an illustrated report that demonstrates your learnings. And then in the second term, this carries on through to the cinematic and video game skills 2 module. And this continues along this some of the same kind of structure, but the expectation is that students will start to become a bit more kind of developed and precise in what type of techniques they want to learn and use. So the module starts to move into tutorials with tutors, where if you want to try a really specific technique or realize something in a very unique way, that's something that you can use the skills module to help you to develop. And again, at the end of the module, you have to submit an illustrated report that demonstrates how you've learned and how you've created your own unique way of working through this module. And I guess just to say that, if you go back, as you hopefully will have seen, because you're here and you're obviously aware of the Bartlett, we have a kind of amazing culture at the school of exhibitions and showing and foregrounding student work at the end of the year. So the work that you would do on the program would be exhibited as part of our 12-month programs exhibition, which happens at the end of the year. And what we're also going to do is to hold a cinematic and video game architecture festival in UCL East with with film screenings and gameplay testing and things like that in order to showcase graduate projects. And hopefully you've seen it, but if you haven't as well, please go online and look at the Bartlett Show website. It's an award-winning online exhibition platform, and all graduating projects will be shown in there and published in the end of year catalogue as well. So it really gives you a great kind of way of showcasing your work. Very helpful, obviously, for showing things to potential employers in the future as well.
So students graduating from the Cinematic and Video Game Architecture program will be equipped with in-depth practical and theoretical knowledge in the emerging field of cinematic and video game architectural design. So you will gain skills in creative problem solving, making decisions and propositions in complex, challenging, ambiguous, and open-ended situations. Students will also develop skills in communicating, presenting, advocating, interrelating, and responding to people from a wide variety of backgrounds within a professional context. Bartlett students with similar digital skills graduating from the Bartlett are snapped up by diverse practices like these, like stage designer S. Devlin, Thomas Seracino, and practices such as Rogers, Heatherwick, Herzog, and Miron. But although this program is new, we would also like to highlight some Bartlett graduates who have already developed exciting careers in sectors that our program will prepare you for. This is Keiichi Matsuda, a major player in the field of extended reality, whose prescient films attracted a huge following when he was still a student at the Bartlett. Factory 15, founded by 3 Bartlett students whose work spans narrative, film, advertising, and architectural projects. ScanLab, who are pioneering a creative practice that uses LiDAR scanner technology to explore the world through digital replicas of buildings, landscapes, objects, and events. Squint Opera, an internationally renowned firm with a mixed portfolio of digital animation, film, and exhibition design using time-based technologies. Studio Archetype, a visualization studio developing spaceship designs for the French, and video game designer Greg Kithreotis at Shedworks, who both Luke and I taught in the past, and who developed the award-winning hit game Sable. Finally, Liquid City, a design practice on the bleeding edge of XR, to define concepts of the future, currently working with Niantic. We also consider the program as a perfect preparation for pursuing further doctoral research in this field. And we see here at the top work from Eric Wong, who is studying a PhD at the Bartlett with Luke, and Paula Strudenex, PG24 student who works in extended reality and is doing a PhD at the European Research Consortium TAC.
So I think we will finish with some key information.
To move.
So yeah, we'll finish with some key information about how you go about applying for this program if you're interested, which hopefully you are. So you'll see here there's a diagram which takes you through the stages in which we look at your application. So you'll be given a clear set of requirements from UCL to make your initial application. So please follow them. You can find where to apply through the graduate prospectus on the UCL website. So when you've given UCL all of the required information, you'll be asked to provide a digital portfolio through a web link so that we can see your prior academic and professional work experience. And for this, we would ask that you emphasize and clearly designate work that's been done in a previous academic setting, as well as including any relevant professional and personal projects. So Deborah is up on the screen here, Deborah Lopez Lobato, who is our admissions tutor. And so Deborah will be your kind of point of contact for all of this as well. So hopefully in due course, you will hear from her. So once you've submitted a portfolio, we will review it, and if we would like to speak to you further, then you'll be interviewed by Deborah, the admissions tutor. So all places on our program are subject to interview, and we'll ask you to speak about the work in your portfolio and more generally about your desire to study on the program. And we aim to give you final decisions within approximately 8 weeks of your initial application. The deadline for applications this year is the 5th of April 2024. We know from experience last year that the program was extremely popular, so we would advise you to apply as early as possible, as it just gives yourself the best chance of having everything seen and securing your place as soon as possible. So I guess there may be preempting some questions you have, a bit more guidance. So what do we look for in a design portfolio? So the focus of your portfolio should be your best and most recent work, including examples undertaken during a first degree and/or carried out while in practice. As much as possible, we'd like to see a variety of work, different scales, different media to demonstrate a creative talent, to give evidence of independent rather than group work as well, so we can understand you as an individual. And so we'd like you to, through a portfolio, to demonstrate your design ability through things such as concept development and problem solving, a broad range of projects undertaken with a variety of outputs using diverse creative media. We'd like intelligent, original communication of ideas and narratives, evidence of relevant modeling and time-based interactive software use, strong drawing and image making skills, and confident and expressive visual language. Now, we understand that many of you might be applying to this program because you're really interested in this field, but you haven't necessarily worked in it before. So again, I think we don't close the door to people if they haven't used this software before. We'd very much like to speak to people, but what we want to understand is your kind of desire and your creative thinking and how that could be translated into a program like this. So just to be a bit more specific on some of the main entry requirements for the program. So the English language standard is level 2. You can find what that relates to in terms of specific English tests on the UCL website. So please look at that, because that's the minimum requirement. And the academic minimum requirement is a minimum of a second-class UK degree in an appropriate subject or an overseas qualification of an equivalent standard. Again, UCL will be able to advise you on your particular qualification. Just to say, we are also open for people who maybe have not the traditional academic background, but have a series of, I think we put 7 years 7 years of work in a professional setting as well. So the more full entry requirements you can see on the graduate prospectus. As we said, we don't offer any places without having undertaken an interview and having assessed your portfolio. So everyone needs to go through that same process. So yeah, all objects are subject to interview. And in order to secure your position on the program, if we are able to make you an offer following your interview, you'll be required to submit a deposit of £2,000, which I think is deducted from your fees when you join the program, but is what UCL requires to secure your place on the program. So you can see the main admissions portal web link here, and when you apply, you'll also receive Deborah's contact details as well if you're invited to interview and so on. So I hope that covers maybe the majority of questions you might have about the practicalities. But if there's any other questions, then we're more than happy to hear them. So I think that concludes everything we've got to show you. So we're happy to field any questions you might have.
Thank you, everyone. And I will stop screen sharing now. Oh, my huge apologies for this. Like, it couldn't have gone worse. I had some problems with the presentation for some reason.
Yeah, we have a hand raised. An S.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for your presentation, and I have some questions. So my first question is, like, I saw there is a part-time program. So I just want to know, is it possible to apply for the part-time? And what's the difference between the part-time and the full-time? And the second question is, if I never have any experience before by using Unreal and do like animation, but I'm architecture background, so do I need to change my portfolio and to do some like projects using that software, or you don't need to say that, just say the general architecture design work, that's fine. And the third question is because this course including cinematic and a video game at the same time. So do we need to choose a direction we want to explore more, or are we going to learn like both direction at the same time? But after graduate, we can choose our own way. And if like we need to do the video game, do we need to have the basic knowledge about coding aspect? Thank you.
Thank you.
They're very good questions.
Yeah. I think maybe if we take them in order, the first one, yes, it's so the course is open for full-time study and part-time study and also flexible study. If you study part-time, it will be over 2 years, and you will take the modules in kind of a separate in a sort of, you'll split the modules over 2 years. So again, your attendance would be half of that of the full time. So we'd need to confirm exactly what your final kind of module diet would be and when things would be taken. But yes, we are open for part-time study. On the second question, was that about if you're
Unreal.
Unreal,
yeah,
yeah.
about the portfolio, do we need to include in Unreal projects if we don't like use that before?
Yeah. I don't think it's a prerequisite, because I think we understand that people are often coming to this course to learn these types of things. I guess I would say that whatever form it might take, it's good to have a kind of evidence that you are like drawn towards the way of thinking of this program, maybe, and to think about how you can structure your portfolio to communicate your desire to do something like that. So obviously a lot of what we're doing is encompassing things like storytelling, narrative, expression and things like that, which can obviously be done through other means like drawing and things like that. So I think if you don't have experience, well, firstly, the software, a lot of the software that we're using is kind of free, even if you're not a student anymore. So there's nothing to stop you from having a play around with that. But I think it's more about demonstrating that you can align with the kind of ethos of the program, because we don't expect everyone to know every single piece of software and to have tried everything out, but we are looking for people that can demonstrate a kind of real passion for working in this type of way.
And thinking of people that are currently on the program that we have accepted from this first cohort, there were some students that didn't really have experience in Unreal, or but they were showing a quite big interest in narrative structures and a way of thinking that relates with this opening up that we're trying to do for the program, this idea of thinking through time and expanding the ways of thinking about architecture in terms of long-term thinking, in terms of narrative, storytelling. And so we would recommend that you evidence that type of work.
Yeah, I think on the third question about the particular direction. So I don't think there is necessarily an expectation, certainly in this first year that we're running it, that students will commit either way. I think it's something we're looking for students to find their own kind of path through in terms of the relationship between cinematic and video game. So I think what we've designed the term one module to allow people to get a bit of a taster for everything. So just to give you a bit of context, with the students that have just started this year, they've already in this term so far, they've already made a film, they've made a video game, they've made a kind of immersive environment. And so they're quite quick little projects, but just to give everyone the chance to test different things and to sort of find whether they resonate with something. And I think in a way we're kind of like we're keen for students to also maybe play in the boundaries between those different areas. But I don't think, again, similar, we're not necessarily expecting every student to have come with like coding experience. I guess just for context, Unreal has an interface called Blueprints, which is a visual scripting interface. So if you've ever used something like Grasshopper or Houdini, it's not exactly the same, but it kind of like it's like a graphic way of being able to code. So you don't need to just dive straight into writing loads and loads of text. You can come at it a bit more gradually, and that's something that you'll also be kind of introduced to through the skills modules and things like that.
But we're also interested in, obviously, these types of work belong to very specific industries like architecture, film and cinema and video games. But we're actually really interested in the crossovers between this, because we feel that's why we put this program together, because we feel that there is opportunities at the boundaries between the three to create really innovative work that might actually create different categories of how we experience space and we design and develop spaces. So we expect that students might actually try to invent their own ways of thinking around these categories, and we would find that really exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so
so
much. Yeah.
We've got two more hands, but I think we had one comment about 7 minutes ago. So from Elizabeth, says, is it better to submit a more developed portfolio later or a less developed portfolio earlier? I suppose that's kind of a value judgment for you to make about whether you feel like, I think obviously our applications are open until April. So, you can apply at any time during that, and we give everyone the same process. We don't just reject people because there's too many or whatever. We try to give everyone the same process. So I think it's just up to you whether you feel like how much work you might need to do to something in order to make it communicate. I think is a little bit of a hard one for us to answer. I think generally speaking, it's obviously good to apply earlier. But if you feel like within that time you need a bit more time to collect your thoughts and put it together, then I feel like you'll be the one best placed to know that, and we can just tell you that we can just offer you advice in terms of like generally how we'd like not how we'd like, what's helpful for us to see in the kind of portfolio.
I would say that the portfolio is really important in our decision making, but there are other parameters as well of your application that obviously we take into consideration.
Yeah. So I think one other question's been asked and answered in the chat about the English language tests. So we've got Alexandra. Alexandra's hand is up.
Yep, I'm here.
Yes.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening in Moscow. At first I want to say that I had been waiting for a visionary program like this for so long, and I'm happy to have it at UCL. And I know that we have like a lot of some metaverse things and some extended reality things, but I'm not fond of it as it isn't real and we can't touch it. And also we have some schools from Metropolitan University in Moscow which learns how to do video games by only game dev. So no architecture, visualizations, all these things. I'm not fan of metaverses, all these things, but I'm deeply support you with so your vision to do extended reality, virtual reality, but for architects. And I wanted to ask if I'm thinking about my thesis, what kind of thesis you had on your first year? Like, which fields are mostly interested by your students? It is more about video games, all these things, or mix it with reality, real world? Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
maybe
you.
I could respond to that, because it's something that we have been discussing a lot in our master's program. Sure that Luke might have things to add, but I'm particularly interested in that relationship between the physical world and the virtual world, and the kind of responsibility that architects have towards shaping not only the way that these worlds look like, but also the ethics behind the development and usage of these spaces. I'm also really interested in the combination between physical and digital attributes of space, and how the two can start talking to each other, because more and more we're working in a kind of hybrid environment, and it needs the kind of attention that architects or the field of architecture that pays attention to all these more cultural aspects of space, because usually these fields are developed in a very commercial environment, and I think that the kind of depth that we bring as designers is really important.
Yeah, thank you very much. I noticed that a lot of clients of our architectural bureau and other companies now have the question about virtual models, about how to show it, how to touch it, even if this BIM model, and it is very interesting. And these clients are like 40 years old plus, and they already interested in it. So I wish you luck, and maybe I will enter your course later. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we had a hand from Amit, and then we've got some in the chat as well. Hello.
Hi, how are you? I have a quick question. If you can share some details about the application letter, what are you looking for?
Sorry, about the
The
letter.
application letter.
The personal statement, you mean?
Hmm?
Is that the personal statement?
Yeah, I mean, I think the personal statement is obviously the first point at which you're able to articulate your reasons for coming onto the course. I think it's, speaking personally and frankly, I think it's really important that the personal statement is both personal to you, but also personal to the course. You know, I think that to understand, because our course is quite specialist, by UCL and the Bartlett is very popular for master's students, to really understand like what brought you to want to apply for this. Obviously, that could be, for example, your own personal experience, your own relationship to film and games, like as a viewer, as a player, but maybe like thinking about as a designer, if there's anything you feel like you really want to express and haven't maybe had the tools or the language to do that before. So I think, to be honest, most people come at this statement from a slightly different way, but I think keeping it kind of personal to your own reason for applying to this very particular course is really the most healthy way. I think a less successful personal statement is one that feels like it could apply to any different master's course, you know. So because we know the Bartlett is like competitive, and the so I think we really want to understand each individual's unique reasons. And I think with the students that we've got this year as well, having spoken to all of them and read all of their personal statements, we all understand that they're quite different people, but they've all found themselves here for like really interesting reasons.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So we have a couple of questions about the page limits and number of number of projects in the portfolio. So we don't stipulate either of those. I don't think we do we? Or did we? Number of pages.
I think that actually it says that it should be 20 pages.
Yes, that is right.
And I mean, we're not really going to count the pages and to say, oh, the like 2 pages more. But I think that it shouldn't really be a huge, big portfolio either. I think that this is a kind of general UCL or Bartlett, for that matter. Oh, look, it disappeared.
I know it's automatic lights in this building. Not...
So yeah, I think that the guidance is 20 pages, but if it's a few more, it's not going to be a problem, or if it's a few less, it's not going to be a problem. It's the quality of the work that we see in the portfolio. But following from that question about the personal statement, you should also think of your portfolio in a way as a personal statement, and the way that you describe your work in the portfolio and the way that you convey the work in the portfolio is also a very strong way of communicating what your intentions are. So yeah.
So there's another couple of questions. Then this approximation for how large the course is. I think this is something that's a little bit difficult for us to answer because this number can sort of change a little bit. So I don't know how best to answer, but the sort of aim of the course is not designed to be absolutely huge. So we're sort of aiming for around kind of 32, 35 students or something like that. But this is something that can obviously change depending on how the university kind of views things. But the idea is always to keep the program as a quite kind of bespoke course where we can really have this sort of very focused relationship between the teaching and the work that goes on. So that's a sort of ballpark in which we can say, but we can't really be more exact about that, generally speaking.
Yeah, what we can say is that now that the program has started, is the first year was actually smaller. It was supposed to be smaller, so it's just 20 students. But the idea in our business case was that it would grow. The exact number of how much it will grow, it will depend on things that we can't necessarily control. But as Luke said, we want to keep it quite small. But it has been very popular in its first year. So
yeah, and
hopefully we will be able to keep it small. That's the answer. But it will be bigger than 20 students next year for sure.
Yeah. But the studio space and the facilities that we have are designed for more than 20 students. So we have the kind of capability as with all the facilities and everything that you hopefully saw in the presentation. It's designed for us for more students than we currently have. So we're really excited to be able to kind of move in and fully populate that space in the coming year. So there was a question from Lauren about if we've not come from a creative background but more science-based, what would be your advice when handing in a personal portfolio, or has that been answered? No. So I think I suppose it would be, again, it would be really good to see exactly what it is maybe in your background that you've done before that brings you to want to study something like this. I suppose there's obviously like quite a long history of films and games kind of engaging with science because obviously they're both media which are like very good at sort of articulating complex theories in ways that people can understand visually. So I suppose it might be a good idea to kind of think about how your experience might give you a quite unique position that you want to study and how to best articulate that. I guess without saying it's hard to know like what type of visual information you might already have, whether that's not a lot or whether that's a different type of visual information to what we might be used to. But again, we have students this year who've come from, there are many architecture students, but we've got students from other backgrounds as well. And I think it's about they all kind of communicated something that was quite different to one another, but through that sort of successful communication could really position themselves in terms of what they're interested in. So I guess the simple advice would be if there's anything that you have as like visual material that non-scientists could understand and also a way of starting to like visually articulate how you want to take your background and kind of use that, I suppose, as something to position yourself in relation to the course, then
I would probably also add that if you have an idea of a project or the way that you want to shape that knowledge into these different media, that would be really useful to hear as well. But also I wanted to say that we are actually really open and value different disciplines, and we would like to bring different disciplines within the program. So we would look at people that come from further afield with quite a lot of interest, because we like this idea of cross-fertilization between, but at the same time we want to make sure that that people that will come in, that they would not really feel that they cannot catch up with the rest of the group. So it would be a decision that we need to make depending on the information that you send us, and if there's an interview as well in the discussion that we have with you.
Yeah, and I think just to reiterate that the course is designed with quite a lot of intensive support and skilling in this first term, with the expectation that students will come from different backgrounds. And so yeah, we have students that have like already used Unreal quite a lot, and we have students that have never used it before. We have students that have never like picked up a cinema camera before or what have you. And in this term, it's giving them a chance to try all of these things out. So I think there's another question there again about the personal website link. I would say if you're uploading a PDF and the cover sheet and things like that, then yeah, you can put a link to a personal website into your PDF. I think that's what you said, or on your issue, and I think we can click through to that as well, because I think yeah, some applicants have like lots of films or things like that they want to also link through to from there. So I think it is okay to link through to a website as well from those other documents. I think the other thing as well is that worked quite well for a number of students is obviously if you're uploading anything that's like a video and stuff like that, then uploading that to Vimeo or YouTube and then embedding that within your document makes it quite easy for us to watch things, and it just pops up as a YouTube and we can watch that in its kind of best quality. So again, that's something to think about.
There is a question about the specific visualization program, whether there is a specific visualization program, and this is something that always changes, but at the moment everyone seems to be putting a lot of effort into Unreal, which can be used as both for both cinematic and video game outputs. Also Blender, they're both free software as well, and that's the quite good thing that you can actually download them tomorrow and start playing with them. So yeah, we would recommend perhaps first Unreal and maybe then Blender or something that you could try some things out and yeah, develop your own way of playing with it. Any more questions? I think we answered the personal website question. Oh, what happened to Luke?
Sorry, my camera just disconnected.
Okay. Any? Is that a new question? If I uploaded videos on YouTube, do I need to have a process as a PDF as well? It depends on what exactly is on YouTube. If it's something that explains a little bit about what the projects are, then that's okay. But if it's maybe we need something to somehow be able to understand what the work is. So if it's a video portfolio, then I think that should be fine. But if it's just videos, maybe it would be good to have another document that somehow organizes them and tell us a little bit more how they were created and what's the background for them. I hope that answers that question. But
Yeah.
obviously, we have also been receiving portfolios that are not necessarily architectural portfolios, that they come from different types of academic background or practice. So we're completely open to that as well.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate Penelope's point that, you know, if you're a student who's working in film production or something like that, then we're from an architecture background, we're an architecture school. So I think just consider like how you can communicate how you might have been involved in this process of realizing this film. If you just show us a film, we might find it a little bit difficult to understand like what your role is within that collaboration and things like that. So I think it is quite important to understand that process, because that gives us an insight into the way that you think, which is obviously really important to us. There is a question: any insights regarding career prospects in cinematic architecture within Europe? For example, are there specific studios or firms that specialize in this field?
I think it is a field that is really growing, and quite a lot of the work that we were showing actually at the very end, ex-Bartlett students that set up their own practices in these fields. But I think it's a really good moment for this program, because I think all these fields are coming together, and there is a lot of need for practitioners that tread between the different fields. And one company that I find really interesting is Superflux, and we have an ex-student that works there. I might put the link in the chat. Who do work that is exhibitions, but also with a kind of really interesting ethical positioning in terms of what these technologies might mean for the future. So we're planning to have, we haven't really managed to do it yet in first term, but we're planning to bring in some practitioners from this field to do workshops and talks with the students, so that and also perhaps advice on how to prepare a portfolio specifically for these types of work. Luke, do you have to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Penelope, it's a kind of emerging field, and I think on the one hand, there are some of the big commercial architecture firms in London, such as Foster's and Zaha Hadid, who have teams that are using cinematic and video game software to help not only, I think, communicate the designs, but to kind of assist and create new approaches for design projects. So there's a connection to architecture there. But then in London we also have people like forensic architecture who are using like game engines and visualizations in a more kind of politically focused way. And I think we have ex-students who've also worked there who've leveraged some of their skills. So there's quite a broad range of things. I suppose in the UK we also have companies that we've sort of spoken to when designing the course as well, like Rockstar Games obviously make Grand Theft Auto, who do have teams of like architecturally trained designers as well. So I suppose as Penelope said, we're hoping to bring in a lot of people to talk with students and to allow students to kind of position their work. A lot of the time, these fields are really emerging in quite exciting ways. So it's there's definitely sort of many different avenues you might take with the type of work that you do in this, whether that's going from wanting to study a PhD or start your own studio through to all these different types of other firms that are working in this sort of intersection as well.
I can
Great.
see the time.
Yes.
I know that we started a bit late due to unprecedented issues with the presentation. But yeah, maybe we could bring it to a close.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much all for attending, and looking forward to receiving your applications, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.